exactly what's going on. So. Back to focusing here on Fighting Frog. This is a solid hatch gas pool opening. You're going to notice pulled all 3 off gas. So no option for a Zergling drop here. I don't particularly like that 3rd base, but I guess I can't really hate on it too much since it is a bit easier to defend. You should always clear that with the Zerglings though before you move out. Okay, ZvP, Newkirk. Now we are playing Newkirk. Newkirk's actually not in the map pool anymore, I don't think. Right? I'm pretty sure it got taken out. Even though I'm still comfortable with this map as well, and I really enjoy it. Always send your 4lings to clear the 3rd base before the drone goes there. Personally, I prefer the further away 3rd. However, if you like this one, that's fine. Just more exposed to frontal pushes. But it is in tighter, so in some ways it's easier to defend. Let's take a look at the hotkeys. We've got 2 Zerglings on hotkeys, so it's those 2 Zerglings. This Zergling did get a full scout. It saw that there's an Oracle, and a Spore Crawler goes down. That's like actually slightly late on the Spore timing, but I love someone who's going to build the Spore slightly late rather than too early. The problem is no Spore in the natural. That was a little bit greedy. Yeah, because now there's, ooh, a little bit, just a little bit dicey. Should have sent a drone down to the 3rd to start building a Spore the moment it finishes as well, in my opinion. But yeah, okay, should be solid with the defense, spreading creep between the bases. So there's 4 queens already, interesting. Building a 5th queen, that's a lot of queens. And an Evo chamber. I've seen... Okay, there's no Zerglings out right now. Really needs to be building Zerglings. Send drone to 3rd, so you can start Spore the moment it finishes. You lost your Scouting Ling at 4 minutes 30, but didn't replace it. Always need to have Scouting Lings out. So this is an odd mass queen opening. Yeah, I don't have too much experience with these openings. I think against a Stargate opening, you know, this is a pretty good opening because, oh, this is the wrong version of Newkirk they hosted, lol. This is the old version. There's meant to be no watchtower and there's meant to be ground everywhere, and they just realized. I remember I was casting a tournament game once, and they just like played this map, and at no point did one of them like mention it. I was like, what the hell? Oh, no, you gotta react to that. Oh, he almost force fielded his own ramp, and he kind of partly did. So a little bit sloppy there. Let's go back to Fighting Frog's camera. Sentry's just recalled. +1 melee is not done, but only going to lose a few drones nonetheless. Yeah, good defense. Needs to just drone up after that. And what's going to be interesting is what's the next step. So do you always go mass queen like this? Question mark. I'm very curious. So it looks like Hydra-bane. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so 60 drones is building a lot of units off 60 drones. Only 5 gas geysers. So this is like a very, very aggressive style. Now, on this version of the map, there's not as much... Oh no, I guess this is the same amount of space, but you can't come in from that side, which makes things a little bit harder. Recoil does go down there. Storm is on the way, interesting, and double upgrades. It's been gaining popularity lately, Double Forge. I don't dig it at all. I think Double Forge is not great. But it's not like it's the worst thing ever. So anyway, this is basically all in. And with only 5 gas, Hydra-ling-bane, I don't know if that makes sense, to be honest. So only 5 gas, 60 drone, Hydra-ling-bane. This is a huge timing attack, very committed. You need to stop TOS getting a 4th, and also damage their army really badly, and get all the expensive units. So guys, because he's so far down on workers, it's like, yeah, every second that goes by, you know, his army does get worse and worse in comparison, so there's no transition on the books for him. Ooh, that's really sloppy. You should always have pre-built spores at each base before the rally. 4th base lost 4 drones to an oracle. Now, map vision, yeah. Missing an overlord on the south of Newkirk. We're a little surprised by the prism. Oh man, not watching the Zerglings at all. Looks like it did like a good amount of probe damage initially, but because Protoss was so over-probed, it's actually like not too bad for the Protoss. So at this point he's taking way too long to push. He's making Overlord speed. Okay. Overlord speed. Overlord speed plus Infestation Pit are both expensive and unnecessary for this timing attack play. So I don't think he realizes he's doing a timing attack this game. He might just be a little bit nervous. By the way, you guys might remember Fighting Frog from... I believe he sent in an IC-Far replay, but also he helped me practice quite a few builds for some of the older dailies and stuff, so... whenever I wanted to run through a build a bunch and really get to know it before I talked about it. So, been very helpful to me in the past, but yeah, it looks like he's just not aware of how small his economy is. He's just not watching it. So I'm really going to study his point of view right now. I'm just going to look at this. So like, yeah, this is good, like, you know, splitting units off, pull them out of position, and then hit the 4th at the same time, right? It's a good way to do this. However... yeah, the problem is that, you know, he needed to go all in with the attack a lot earlier. He didn't do it. And now he's going for, like, Hive and Spire. But Broodlords off 50 drones makes no sense. So the main thing this game is just going to be economy. He never droned his 4th, never finished even droning his 3 bases. Did he realize that? Because the way he's moving his units, it looks to me like, I would say, a pretty perfect way of how you would play if you were playing an 80 drone Hydra-bane style. You're harassing, you're counter-attacking, you're defending, you're spreading creep. You're looking for engagements on the main army, but only if they get out of position, or once you're maxed, which he's never hit. The problem is, he was on a much lower economy, and he didn't play it as if he was on that much lower economy, so... good, you know, pretty good micro here. He's actually taking an impressive fight. He's taken down the 3rd and the 4th. I can't believe he's going to win this game. It's a shame he's wasted this money on Hive. Yeah, he's realized, okay, I don't need these things. I just need Zerglings and Hydras right now. And he's gonna be able to win. Oh my god. Zergimba, man. Zergimba. Yeah, so it's not like what he was doing was terrible mechanically, right? Mechanically, things looked good. Just comes back to the not realizing where his economy was at, or not playing to that economy. GG, well played. Very good game.
GG.
All right, so what are your thoughts on that game? Do you think you were ahead all game, behind all game? What did you do well? What did you do poorly?
I felt like I never got a decent drone count. I don't remember exactly why. I lost a lot of drones at some point, right? Or maybe I just over-prepared for his attack with the mothership core.
Potentially. Definitely, that's really good. So what's really good here is you've picked up on what went wrong that game. Yeah, you did never get a decent drone count. Now, you didn't actually lose that crazy number of drones, right? You lost a few to the adept run by, but basically you were just sitting on 5 gases, right? And going Hydra-ling-bane for a very long time, 60 drones. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool, you're going for a big timing attack. Because even after that recoil pressure, there was a long time where you were just pumping out units, right? You're just building Zerglings and then getting some Hydras. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess you're just going for a big timing. But then, yeah, that's not necessarily the worst thing. The thing is, you could have still droned up after that. He committed a lot to the multiple oracles coming in, the adepts coming in, the mothership core pressure. He did a lot of pressure, and he did get a few drones, but I think it was like even/you were ahead even after losing those drones, right? So I think you just needed to either drone back up, or you needed to play to your drone count. So what worries me?
I think I was too.
Sorry,
I think I was too slow to understand that I didn't have enough drones. Like it took until like 7:30 until I noticed that, oh crap, I don't have any drones. That explains why I can't produce stuff.
Awesome. That is good, right? Because I was about to say, I think the problem is you didn't realize straight away. And that was the problem, right? Because you were playing as if you had 80 drones, right? You were kind of just spreading creep, looking for counterattacks when you needed to be like going all in or droning up, one or the other, right? And you were kind of playing as if you were on a high drone count, but then you weren't. So even though you won the game, which is awesome, great testament to your multitasking and your counterattacks, yeah, that realization was the important thing. So in terms of recognizing that, how can we recognize that we're not at the drone count we want to be? Really just checking. You just, I think because there was a lot of oracle pressure, then there was the warp prism pressure, I think you just kind of got like excited a little bit, and you were just kind of like, whoa, stuff's happening, and you kind of kept on doing things. And I think sometimes whenever pressure recedes, you want to kind of say, hey, where's my economy at? Bounce between your bases. Oh, I don't even have my 6th gas yet. Oh, I haven't droned my 4th yet. And just the fact that you hadn't droned your 4th alone should have told you your drone count, wasn't incredible. But then seeing that you're not even at 66 drones, you're only at 60, should have really tipped you off even more. So just try to take a moment if the pressure is very heavy early on, once you stabilize, once you've got map control, and say to yourself, hey, wait a second.
Into the mouth.
Let's check my economy. Is it good?
Nice.
Is it bad? Where's it at? Make sure you get that up. And I'm guessing normally you're playing like 75 drones, like, getting a good amount of saturation on that 4th. Is that right? Like, what's your ideal?
No, definitely. I think it feels like Zerg is favored in the end game right now. So I feel like just drone up and everything should be good from there.
Wow. Okay, you feel Zerg's favored in the end game, really?
It just feels like it. I'm not too certain about that. But if you can get a really good drone count and also infestors quite early on, I think it's really hard for Protoss to deal with that. But I'm not sure.
Cool
about that.
I think it's right that you're definitely robust in like sort of the late game. I think end game still Protoss is the ultimate strength, but very few Protoss players have the finesse to get there. And when you add in Lings and Banes coming in from all sides, you add in creep spread, you add in that great movement you showed that game. Definitely, I agree. So so a couple of small things, because we want to talk about what you want to change in the next game. So can you get the next game hosted up?
Sure.
So number 1 is make sure you always escort that drone to the 3rd base. Make sure you always send the Zerglings down towards the 3rd and clear the probe out. That getting delayed, massive pain in the ass, right? So small adjustment. Escort that drone down. Second thing is I like that you waited with your spore crawlers until the last possible second. You were cutting it very fine with them, but I also think you should have sent a drone down to your third base ahead of time to build a spore there. Now that was a bit of a special situation because your third base was so delayed from the block. That's kind of why it was finished so late. But if you get the spore up there earlier, that would be big. And likewise, the moment you take a fourth, you should be building a spore there before you send any drones there. And that should be good. But other than that, in the early game, it was good. I'm curious, do you normally go heavy queen, or was that a reaction to the Oracle opening?
I do that normally.
Okay, so that's like your standard thing. Okay, cool. So I'm not too familiar with it. I think it's great against Stargate openings. I think it's not bad against everything else. They are an expensive unit that don't deal that much damage, but they're kind of pretty decent versus everything. The important thing is to make sure you maintain vision, right? So you're never surprised by adepts early on. There was one moment when he moved out to take his third where you lost your Zergling outside his base and you had no other Zerglings for about maybe 45 seconds before you started rebuilding them. Try to make sure you've always got a couple Zerglings on the map, because you never know when your opponent's going to come across the map with 6 adepts. And if you don't see them till they're at your base, your queens don't really defend very well, right? They can just shade past, and if you're only just starting Zerglings, you can lose a lot.
Yeah.
So there was just this one narrow window where you might have taken a bunch of damage. So just try to be on top of that.
Okay.
Awesome, man. Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's go.
Cool. So yeah, just to summarize, just make sure you get the third down on time, make sure you're on top of your spore defense, make sure you're on top of your map vision with your Zerglings, and obviously once you get to that mid game, make sure you drone up to the drone count that you want to. I like the way you moved your army around in the mid game. Good micro, good positioning, good counter attacking. Don't have any changes for that. Let's just tighten up the early to mid stage in terms of your defense and your economy, and I think we should be looking good. Kick ass, man. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to think, guys, about this Oracle opening, Heavy Queen opening, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what's really good versus this? Well, what about a Glaive Adept opening? So you know what? I might play against him in the next game if I can get him to hop onto the NA server, or I'll ask Gab if he can do one, and I might just do like a really crisp Adept timing and be like, yo, let's check that you're good against that, because you know, I know he would like me to find some holes in his play. Thank you so much, Epsilox, for the tier 1 sub for 30 months. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate the sub. And you know what? My overlay is working now. No? That's because I don't have the program open. Okay, it should be working. I could have sworn I double-clicked it earlier. But apparently there's a new app that they brought out. I didn't realize. That's why my labels were like doubly as screwed up as everyone else's. Just a bit of a pain in the ass. It's still not updating. Okay. Well, you can see my labels have updated down there. So it'll fix. I'm sure it'll update. I'll check it a little bit later. I guess that's a resub, so it doesn't show new resubs there. But either way, thank you so much, guys, for the support. So yeah, I'm thinking about weaknesses. Not enough drones. Didn't realize and played as if you had 80 drones. Still won, but probably shouldn't have. Alright. So now we're going to write game 2. Newkirk again, and they actually hosted the proper map version this time, which is good. I'm going to write some notes as well. I'm going to write, so some thoughts on your build. Some thoughts on Heavy Queen opening. Can struggle a little bit versus Archon drop. So need to be, so basically if you're versing an Archon drop with Heavy Queen, need to be well positioned. And you need to save energy for transfuse. because otherwise you can get in a lot of trouble. Don't dump it all on tumors. How about versus a crisp glaive adept attack? You know, with the heavy queen, versus the all-in, you know, 7-gate 2-base variations, the heavy queen is actually awesome because the prism, you know, can't get too close. However, you might still want to make a Roach Warren, same as you'd like to. I did see Solar, though, defend half decently the other day with Queen-ling-bane. So I'm not 100% on that analysis just yet. Like, I do really feel like if the Protoss is going all in, there's no reason not to build a Roach Warren. But anyway, for now, we've got that Spore Crawler down straight away. We've got Spores down here. I love this second Queen rotation into the main base, but this time the one in the natural's on time. So even if it does rotate down to that natural, that Spore Crawler will be finished as well. And there's another Queen that pops there as well. So the timing here is pretty immaculate from Fighting Frog. Gonna build, yeah, like, okay, 20 Zerglings is probably a little bit much, but guess what? You can deny the third with that. So I just want to make sure that this was actually his plan. Perfect early defense. Much crisper opening. 30 lings is a lot. You intended to cancel the third, right?
Glory to the Daemon.
Not a bad move, but could have got away with less. Or just surround the Adepts in the Sentry. I don't know. I would go for that, for sure. So the fact that he's not going for that disappoints me a little bit. That's awesome. That'll work out. You could have surrounded the Sentry Adept after the first overcharge and wrecked it, even with the Oracle there. Would have liked to see you judge this situation a little better. Only 3 non-glaive Adepts. One, you know, 2 sentries. That's no threat. Only 3 non-glaive Adepts. Low threat. Oracle. High threat. But it was slightly out of position. And Mothership Core with no energy equals no threat. So really, I think he could have darted in there and taken that fight, and I would have loved to see him be a little bit more decisive. That was a cute Spore trick. That was really sexy. He's up at 66 drones now, but he's kind of supply blocked, and he needs to realize that right now. So I'm kind of watching and I'm waiting to see when's he going to realize that. Also, where is that 6th gas, since that seems to be a habit of taking that a little bit late. Maybe you should take the 2nd gas in the main earlier to make sure you don't forget it. It was kind of late this game again. Not the end of the world, just something to pay attention to. Oh man, this Oracle's being a little shit, isn't he? Up to 8 drone kills, not bad, not bad. So anyway, has he evened out the saturation? Yes, he has. Ooh, he still hasn't put on that 6th gas at the front though. So what I'm noticing here is, you guys see, there's a lot of macro going on, very little. I want to watch the next injects. Let's pay attention. Just injected a hatchery, but he only injected 1. So he's a little bit of a haphazard macro, as you'd expect from a random player. Yeah, like he's not macroing in tight cycles. Because he's consistent at tapping it, I can't be super critical here. Could have a bit cleaner macro cycles, you know, injecting all at once, etc. in the mid game, in the early mid game. Mass spine question mark. What the hell? I don't know why he's massing spines. So I don't like this. Okay, so before I thought he was just playing a normal Hydra-bane game, And if you did that again, it would be perfect. But this is terrible. Spine crawlers are so unnecessary. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong, guys. Fighting Frog's a great player. But there's just, like, what is the point of spines? The thing is, you want to be trying to end the Protoss, right? I'm okay with him saying, I'm happy to go to the 80 drone stage because I feel favored in the late game. But it's like, it should be favored aggressively. You need to be aggressive. Having a few spines across your bases to defend Prism isn't the worst thing. This is unnecessary. You should be always aggressive in the mid game, denying the Protoss 4th base. Hydra-bane can get heaps done. No need to rush up towards Hive, Broodlords, and Lurkers before you've even started fighting. So like that's a lot of money that could be an army right now, and like Infestors are cute, but that's like the only way to describe them. You know, denying this base is going to be great, but just like very non-committal. Interesting. Most players would try to commit into the 3 base and just be like, I'm just gonna fucking go. But he's really playing a more patient game. I'm okay with that. I just feel like the Hive and Spire is maybe a little bit too early. I'm not sure. This is very interesting to me because it can work. But I think you need a bit more pressure on the Protoss / ability to force a cancel on the 4th. Like if Gab just takes the regular 4th instead of this forward one and knocks the rocks down, he can defend the middle with Storm because you don't have that much stuff. If you're going to play this later game style, I think having more Bane drops on mineral lines or like triple Ling drops in the main whilst zoning around would really stretch your opponent more. So yeah, Gab's like really struggling, I feel, at this stage of the game. Part of it is that there are 2 robos, but the immortal count is only at 6, even though it's 11 minutes. A decent amount of Storm, but Gab really should have 6 High Templar against this army, like just crazy unlimited amount of Storms. And yeah, this Warp Prism needs to be like getting all the charge lots over there. These charge lots back at home are not going to be that useful. DT warp-ins would also be pretty fantastic. So we see Fighting Frog there. It's kind of moved spines up to the front, which is really bizarre. That's not something I've seen before. That's really, really interesting. Glaives in the late game. Hope this was a mistake from the Protoss player. Not sure what he's doing there. Come on, Gab. I think maybe it's meant to be Blink. Oh yeah, good pullback there. I did not like that movement. Like these units on their own would just get overwhelmed so easily. I mean, there's plenty of observers out, so yeah. Drone count's still not incredible, so this is something where Fighting Frog hasn't really been replacing drones. Didn't replace drones. Only 57 after losing 4th base. Broodlords end up being quite all in. This is okay because you want more army supply, usually with this force. A couple of decent Baneling hits and Lurker volleys there, but nothing that'll be ending the game. Morphing Broodlords so far back is a bit of a pain here. Yeah. So I definitely think Fighting Frog is just giving way too much space to the Protoss, all things considered. I think there needs to be a little bit more urgency. So I think this is something which works up to against Protoss players up to a certain level. But once you get past a certain level, those Protoss players are going to be securing that fourth earlier. They're not going to let you deny it with so little commitment to denying it. Yeah, so you know this triple Tempest on, even right now, this is a sick move from Gab, as long as Gab actually recalls, which I don't think he's gonna do, because yeah, look at this fungal, it's gonna be game ending, guys. He's gonna, oh no, he's got to get that recall. You got to recall right now, Gab, it's your only chance. Okay, loses a few units, but that's okay. At least he does get out of there with most of them. He's gonna try and break down the rocks. Gab with the sick plays. But yeah, Fighting Frog is actually going to lose this game, even though I think Gab gave him way too much space. And that just kind of speaks to this immobile way which Fighting Frog was playing. In that he was in such a good position, and he just didn't force his advantage at all. And it's always a little bit awkward against a Protoss who doesn't want to secure their fourth base. The thing is, I feel like if they don't secure a fourth base, you can just win with Hydra-bane, right? Like, you can just overwhelm, you can just trade for days. So...
at home, I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up.
So what's really interesting here, Triple Helix still with the burp command. Okay. So overall this game, what needed to happen was you to stay on a more mobile force. Lurkers aren't really necessary with this army. Too expensive and too immobile. Just stay. Spines are the same. If you can deny the fourth, keep denying the fourth, and keep trading. Stay on 80 drones, and keep expanding and trading from all angles, and Protoss will simply not have enough. A few efficient storms won't matter against your horde of Zerg. And that's kind of how you finish the game. Broodlord tech behind as the finishing blow is nice, but no infestors, no lurkers. Infestor, lurker, spine is something that the best Zergs used extensively in every game in early Legacy. But once Protoss players stopped walking into fungal yeah, sure. You know, I don't think you can win this game. Maybe you can. It's still pretty close, but definitely, like, if he just makes a few more Archons on the ground, it would be pretty hard. Try to get in the habit of using that rewind button. But we can hop out and watch the replay together while we talk, and that should be good. GG's though. Overall, pretty damn well played.
Okay.
So do you want to load up the replay?
Yeah.
Watch with others, get us all to watch it. We can watch that kind of while we talk, while we answer some questions. I just was finishing a bit in your notes, so I'm just going to finish that really quickly while I'm still on the thought. Thank you for making me the lobby host. Yeah. I was just saying, once Protoss players stop walking into fungal lurker, these units stop being used outside of Supreme late game or lurker timing attacks. Okay, so as we fast forward through here, GG, some really good play at some points that game. Some other points I feel like you kind of lost momentum, and you didn't need to lose momentum. But what are your feelings? What do you think went right for you, and what went wrong for you?
I lost a bunch of units. I feel like when I denied the first time, I was doing pretty good. But then I got in a bad position with my units.
And the thing is with your game plan seems a little bit odd though, so that's what I want to talk about. You started massing spines very early, and then you went to lurkers, which is not something we usually see anymore off Baneling Hydra tech, and you also went for Hive and Spire and Infestors. So you went for a lot of different things at once. What was your game plan at that stage of the game? Is it just to kind of get this very strong defensive army, so if Protoss attacks into you, you can crush it and then like keep picking away at them with counterattacks?
I mean that's the best situation, right? But even for attacking, I did manage to bring the spines this time, except he took the 4 at the other base, which sort of prevented that. But I don't think I had a game plan really, to be honest.
I mean, this is the matchup you wanted to work on, right? Because it is a matchup, I guess, which you struggle in a little bit more than the others. So I think that's what I want to talk about, is that sort of game plan in terms of how do you finish the game against the Protoss player. And I think at the moment you're teching up, but it reminds me a lot of early Legacy play, where Zergs were kind of going for all these super powerful units, but we quickly realized that Protoss still has the counter to all those units, and if they're really good at just expanding and defending, you know, eventually they will get out the Tempests to counter the Broodlords, the Immortals to counter the Lurkers, Ultras, Infestors, and they just, you know, have the Storm for everything else, and you end up in a pretty bad position. So I think you're still very much on a timer, and you need to be quite tightly aggressive against Protoss in order to make this happen. So this time around, early game, much better. Something I do want to note is your 6th gas does tend to go down quite late. I get the feeling that you almost kind of half forget about it because you take it in your main base last. And your 6th gas, was actually your 5th gas you forgot to put on mining here on your 3rd base.
Right.
For a very long time. There we go. About, I don't know, was that like 2 minutes maybe? I'm not sure when that gas went down, but quite a long time. So your droning was much better this game. Things were looking way better, but this is the point where things
I feel like it still wasn't good though. Like I'm only at 64 and I make a bunch of them like in a minute maybe. Which I feel like is, you should make them now or never, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Zerglings out, right? You've got a few Hydras, you've got some safety, and you even build these spines as well. So I absolutely agree. I think that's a really good analysis. You build 12 drones pretty quickly, but it's the spine crawlers that really rub me the wrong way. They're just so immobile, and they're just really not necessary. They just don't do enough. I feel like the spine crawlers, and I love the way you use them. It's so interesting and creative, and it's kind of cool with those lurkers, but I feel like it just doesn't achieve enough. The problem is you're hoping the Protoss attacks into it. And I think you were actually already very lucky that Gab kept taking this front base. So I'm going to say to Gab, I think you should always take the top 4th. The middle one is mega exposed. So I think he should always take the normal base.
Looking at the replay here, I completely agree. The spines were not necessary at all. At this time.
If you didn't have those, you'd be up at a much higher drone count, right? You'd be up at, you know, closer to 80 drones. So not just that, but then let's talk about your general game plan from here. So check this out, right? Yeah. So Infestation Pit and Lurker Den, both unnecessary. So this is what I was mentioning before about in tournaments not rushing to the late game. You try to exist in the mid game a little bit more. And I think with Hydra-bane, that's always your goal. You don't necessarily want to be BL, right? Where you just make 80 drones, you make Hydra-baneling, and then you just clump up and move command into Storm every game. No offense to BL, I love him, he's an amazing player, but holy shit does he do some terrible engagements in Zerg vs Protoss sometimes. But what you see there in the Korean meta of Hydra-bane is that there's this real focus on you need to go and you need to hit. This is sharp timing before this Protoss gets the critical mass of Immortals and Storm backing it up, and Archons, because there's this the Protoss army starts to gain power very quickly, and you can see at this point Protoss is at that point, right? 3 High Templar with a Storm each, but only 2 Immortals, an Archon, and a bunch of Chargelots. This is still a very fragile army, but you add another 3 Immortals to this, you add another 2 Archons, suddenly you get a second Storm on each of those High Templar in about a minute's time, and this becomes like a beautiful army. It becomes so powerful against what you've got, right? And this is why it's so important to be trading against it. So I think you should be a little bit more focused on the Hydra-baneling stage.
I think I remembered my game plan now. It should make more sense.
Okay,
So basically I was thinking that I push with the spines and lurkers. That was just poking to deny the fourth, because that was for free, basically. But later on I wanted to push with broodlords, lurkers, and then basically being maxed with infestors as well. And I feel like he would not have Tempest in time.
Okay.
Especially if I would have spines and lurkers in the middle of the map, I would have been able to morph the broodlords closer to him and kill his fourth with that push. So that's basically what I wanted to do.
Okay, this is
But then
really
I lost
good.
a lot of lurkers.
It's really good we got that thought process there now, because I do want to say though, why do you need the lurkers? Is it just to try and create that broodlord position to morph them close to his base? Because I feel like the broodlords and the lurkers do the same thing. Like if a Protoss doesn't have Tempests, and you've got Hydra-ling-bane underneath broodlords, like the Protoss is still pretty screwed, right?
It depends how many you have, but yeah.
Once you get up to about 7 broodlords, I would say like it's very hard, unless you clump all your broodlords up and don't stutter step them, and let them eat like storms, and you know, maybe your banelings will get stormed. It's very, very difficult for Protoss to engage into. It's super hard, right? So I feel like these units kind of achieve the same purpose. So the lurkers, I don't feel like you can force them to achieve anything outside of doing drops or tight timing attacks, right? So with Hydra Baneling, I think you've already got such a scary mobile force. You actually create safety for yourself through aggression and creep spread. For him to step onto creep against Hydra Baneling, and you've shown you're good at microing Hydra Baneling, is insane. It would be absolutely disastrous for him, right? So what I want you to envision at this stage is, imagine there's no lurkers, imagine there's no spine crawlers.
Okay.
So imagine you're up at 75 drones instead of 65 right now, right? I think that would be a nice healthy account, you'd have a bit more money, but you'd be maxed on Hydra Bane right now, right? And you'd have units to trade, and he doesn't have a 4th base, right? This 4th base would not be up, because you'd have more Hydra Baneling, you'd still be coming in here, and you'd be flanking in, right? You'd have Ling-bane coming in from the top side and trying to like either run in from behind his army or run into his natural. You would be coming in with banelings from the south side and breaking down that pylon in the wall and constantly running lings and banes into his 3rd base, while the rest of your units are doing the whole big concave dance at the front. You know what I mean by the concave dance, right?
Sure.
Yeah, just you're very good at that, just microing in and out, making sure you don't clump up into storm, trying to kind of say, if you ever engage into me, you're screwed. At the same time, if I force my way into you, I'm probably going to get my Hydras stormed to death and wrecked. So I think that would be like this really good thing. And I think you still want to have a follow-up plan. You don't want to be like, I just make Hydra Baneling and I never transition. But I think just Broodlords on their own achieve the goal, because you're going to be a lot more aggressive with your Hydra Bane. You're going to look to get more done with it. So similar to the way you see pro gamers play with this style, it's Hydra Bane, look to be aggressive, look to deny bases, and then you do tech to Broodlords behind it off that nice big drone count. So so that's the general game plan. Now let's focus on 1 or 2 details. Okay, the moment you see a counter attack, like that very first one a few minutes ago, you need to split off units to defend that. Even if it's 6 Hydralisks and 20 Zerglings, you need to split that off. Like the moment this attack just got cleaned up here at your 3rd, you need to go, okay, grab 6 Hydralisks, 20 Zerglings, and you need to just like move them around the top of the map and send Overlords up there as well. Because the moment you don't do that, you give Protoss the ability to warp in Chargelots, and remember those Chargelots are useless in the frontal engagement. But if you can counterattack with them, they're useful. So this is always the Protoss' dream scenario, because they just want to build up their gas units, which are efficient in a frontal fight. Archons, Immortal Storm. Chargelots don't really help them there. They only want a few Chargelots once all the Banelings are gone. So the Protoss always just wants to buy time. And whenever you can shut down that Warp Prism, that's going to be so good for you. Or in this case, you had a Spire up super fast. build 5 Mutalisks. Or Corruptors. I guess you're going to make Broodlords anyway. You could make 5 Corruptors. But you've got to send the ground units anyway, because they can just make another Warp in. And if you don't get up there, things can get really bad. So shut down that Warp Prism would have been really good. Now, I've talked about those as a few different things. What else do I want to say here? I think with how you drone, how you macroed early, you would have actually just killed him with the Hydra-ling-bane. Let's go back. Let's imagine you're committing a bit harder. And once again, I just want to say, look how long you denied his 4th base. At this stage of the game, especially if you had a higher drone count instead of those spine crawlers, if these lurkers were just still as Hydras, if the Hive, the Spire, the Infestors, the Infestation Pit, none of that was down yet. Maybe you're just starting the Infestation Pit right now for your Hive transition. You would have you'd be maxed out on Hydra-ling-bane, and you could just flank in from all sides. Remember what I said about counterattacks from the bottom, counterattacks from the top, or something I wrote in the notes, which I was thinking about, is maybe you want to do a bit more drops. Maybe you want to elevate a three Overlords of Zerglings into the main, or just do a single Baneling drop. It doesn't matter, you can't do every single type of attack. I don't want you dropping and attacking 5 places at once, right? It's too hard to control, but I do want you to be hitting at least 2 vulnerable locations where their army isn't, while forcing that big giant frontal arc where you're spread out front the 4th, out front the 3rd, and coming through from this top corridor at the same time and just closing in around his army. Because the moment you catch that army surrounded, man, it is over so suddenly. So I think this is like the thing which a lot of players aren't as good at in ZvP, right through to the pro level, is not committing to this mid-game army enough and just focusing on, hey, Protoss, if you want to defend a 4th, you need to come into the open. I will find an angle to screw you up with this massive mid-game army. And this is the same kind of theory as Ravager-ling-bane. It's all about, once the Protoss wants that 4th, I'm just going to keep killing it. And I can afford to trade efficiently, and in this game, Gab took a 4th really slowly. And if they do this, you can afford to eat some nasty storms, because you're up on 4 bases. You'll be taking a 5th. You'll just keep expanding, and remember, at this point, the minerals are dropping drastically. Check out the Protoss main base. Half the mineral patches are gone. Check out the Protoss natural. Some of those mineral patches will actually be mining out very soon as well. There's already only 6 in the natural as well. He's already way oversaturated. So yeah, it's one of these things where even when you feel like, oh god, I'm not really killing that much stuff, as long as you're keeping him off a 4th, his income will start to dip a lot. You bring up... if we bring up the income tab after you deny this base, we'll see it a lot before this new 4th base finishes. Oh, I guess the 4th base going down for you actually was really massive, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So not dealing with the Warp Prism was big. Otherwise, we'd see you with a massive income advantage right now. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on kind of sticking to Hydra-baneling a bit more and really just focusing on that with Broodlords as the one single follow-up unit and skipping the Infestors and Lurkers and Spines?
I'm not super happy with it, but I will definitely try it. One question though, I did keep Hydras in my main until just recently. I think I sent them out. Would that be possible if I attack with Hydra-ling-bane instead of?
Yeah, you definitely can, but you want to be a little bit more vision. Actually, something I wanted to point out. This is really good. You should have an Overlord there. There was no Oracle, or there's no Void Ray or Phoenix, and you should also have a few more Void Rays on the top side. Sorry, Overlords on the top, which you had the previous game. You had Overlords on the top last game. You didn't put them there this game. So try to make sure you remember to do that, because those Hydralisks, you know, they should have rotated up here to the 4th base to defend after that first Zealot run by.
Okay.
And I don't think they did. I think they just rejoined your army. Let's take a look. Yep, so we see them coming out of your natural now. They've just rotated down. Yeah, they just rejoined your main army.
No, I sent them to the prism, which was at the...
Oh, okay. Oh, you did. But then you
but
don't...
the prism left.
Yeah, the prism left. So yeah, you got to send Overlords as well. Got to check where that guy is. And yeah, if you know it's a threat, I do like to sometimes leave like 5 Hydralisks on a squad just like looking for it. But that's completely fine. You can definitely cut that supply out of your army even while you're committing to your attacks, because the Warp Prism, otherwise it just screws you so much. It pulls so much supply home and so many, many units home as well. Whereas if you just grab it with 5 Hydralisks, it's like, oh, easiest pick off ever. Sweet. Then you can focus on the front.
Okay.
Cool. Did you have any other questions?
I did have 2 questions, maybe not the most interesting ones, but
That's all right.
how much time do you have to prepare before the match at the
Oh, like
local
once
area?
you find out who your opponent is or something like that?
Yeah, like exactly. When do you know? How long time in advance do you know when you will play?
It's pretty variable, depending on the tournament and how they're running it and everything. But usually you've got just a little bit of time. I think especially in the group stages and stuff, you just kind of find out your group. First group stage, you normally get a little bit of time to prepare. Like everyone gets like a good half an hour, an hour. I actually haven't played a DreamHack in so long. I don't know if it's different these days.
Computer.
Yeah. Normally you would get like, I in the past I always had time to play multiple ladder games to warm up, or customs against other people there. So normally about half an hour, kind of on your computer. In the later group stages, maybe a bit less time, as the tournament goes on. Best to ask players who have been actively competing kind of at DreamHacks a little bit more and at these other tournaments, because each tournament will be a little bit different. So there will be some tournaments where you get less time and things are a little bit different. But yeah, with DreamHacks, even with the WCS tournaments associated, because it's such a big group stage, it's not going to be like the same as if you go to Katowice or you go to what the circuit tournaments were last year. And the circus tournaments. Foreigners is such a joke, haha. Where, yeah, basically, like, you'd have your own computer the whole time at those tournaments, right? At Katowice or any of the circuits, and you'd be able to just warm up and practice as much as you wanted. In a group stage tournament, you're not going to have as much time on a computer. It's mainly just to kind of warm up and get your settings correct. So it's important to kind of, every time you get on your computer, you just go through your settings and make sure everything's perfect. And once you've done that, you can practice it at home as well. You can just like, okay, fuck all your settings up, go through. You just want to do it in a few minutes, because otherwise it can get really distracting. And the number of players their first like 5 times at LAN who will just like forget to change a setting because they're so nervous thinking about who their opponent is or something, and then their mouse is like totally off or something. This happens all the time, so try not to be that guy. Try to be a little bit better prepared with it, and it should go pretty well for you.
Great. I do have one last question.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier when the attack of Gab was over and he had done some harass with Oracle and Adept.
Yep.
You told me to check my drone count. But I mean, there are lots of things that you want to do since you've been so busy for a long time, like check supply block and tech and all kinds of stuff. Do you have some sort of checklist for that?
I guess whenever I finish dealing with pressure, I always think about getting back on top of my macro, and definitely the first thing you should always do after dealing with pressure is a macro cycle, right? Inject, build overlords, build units, right? Your 3 most important things. Basically, once I've got my build back in the position where I want it to be, so what will happen is do a macro cycle, number 1. Number 2, do whatever I've got to do next in my build. In a ZvP, I was like, oh shit, I don't have an Evo chamber yet. I really need to get my upgrades started. Okay, I don't have a 4th base down yet. But as soon as I've done those tasks, and I've got map, and then I get map control back as well, right? Is the next thing, is like have Zerglings on the map. And then at that stage, I can say to myself, okay, I can sit, I'm comfortable, right? I've got a few seconds till my next macro cycle. Let's check that everything's okay. So I can go back and just bounce between my bases and say, oh shit, I didn't put on gas here. I kind of double check my circumstances just using my camera hotkeys, and I go, oh, haven't put on gas on my 3rd yet. Grab 3 drones there. Okay, but I do have 3 base saturated. I kind of like to check that and just say, okay, I've got 3 bases saturated. That always gives you a bit of comfort as a Zerg player, right? Even if you see your opponent being aggressive, you can always mass a crazy number of units off 3 base. But you're thinking like, okay, as long as he macros up, I'll drone my 4th. Will be the next thing I do, and go from there. So generally the checklist is number 1, do a macro cycle. Number 2, do whatever the hell you need to do next in your build at that specific point of the game, which could be quite a bit delayed, right? Because everything's very flexible as Zerg. If your opponent didn't harass you at all, it would already be down. And then number 3 is once you've kind of got all your build back on track, your macro back on track, that's when you kind of just bounce between your bases and double check you don't have 20 drones sitting on one extractor or something silly like that that's left over from the pressure.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome, man. All right, I think this was a pretty good coaching session. Big thanks to Gab.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys should play a few more games, I think, and really focus on the Hydra-bane. Figure that out. You know, I think the Broodlord transition, just straight to Broodlords, it feels a little bit awkward. You know,
I'm super comfortable with that.
right? Yeah, but I mean, skipping the lurkers and the spines and the infestors is the important part, right? Like it's just the Broodlords, and even that can be a little bit delayed. So really focusing on the Hydra-ling-bane and getting as much done with that as possible. And yeah. Slightly better map coverage. Your opening was way crisper that second game, so slightly better map coverage with overlords as well, and make sure you hunt down the warp prism. Don't let it continually warp in zealots like that.
Right.
All right, sweet, good session, man. Hit me up if there's anything that doesn't make sense in the notes. I think it should all make sense though. It's all written there. Go and watch the replays probably tomorrow while reading through the notes and have a think about all of that, and that should be awesome.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
mate.
you.
I gotta run. I'll catch you later. Have a good one.